President Biden is in Philadelphia today, helping to support people who are food insecure nationwide. Americans are observing a day of service in honor of civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. on what would have been his 95th birthday. As the nation celebrates the legacy of Reverend King, we remember his vision for racial equality in America, which he laid out in his historic I Have a Dream speech. His lasting legacy continues to impact the civil rights movement today. Joining us now is Martin Luther King Jr.'s son and human rights activist Martin Luther King III and his wife Arndrea Waters King. Martin, where are we today in the realization of your father's dream for racial equality in America?
So thank you for the question. I'd like to characterize it this way. On this 95th birthday that he would have observed, we are making progress, but I think that we're at a critical juncture, particularly as it relates to the political arena. Our nation has to decide, are we going to continue to embrace and support democracy, or are we going to go in a different direction? Dad would want us to be unified. His last book was entitled, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community? All of us are seeing chaos, but most people want to build community. That's what he would be about. That's what my mother would be about. That's what I hope our nation is doing today, building community.
And Arndrea, your mother-in-law, Coretta Scott King, was an activist herself. What can you tell us about her that people might not know?
I think there's so much about Coretta Scott King that people don't know. First and foremost, she was an activist prior to meeting Martin Luther King Jr. She was a peace activist on her college campus, and actually on their first date, I think that was one of the things that he found most endearing, is that she could discuss issues that he was passionate about. In a very real sense, I think that he knew early on that he had found his match in every way. She also, after his assassination, she really is the architect of making sure that he was remembered and upheld in a way that we all can celebrate today. If it weren't for Coretta Scott King and her steadfastness, we wouldn't have a King holiday. When you think about a black woman that went and took 20 years, visited every single senator, most members of Congress, to make sure that people truly understood the legacy of her husband and to make sure that we could have this day. And one of the things that I always like to add is that she did most of her work as a single mother, because I know so many of your viewers are single mothers, and here she was with 4 little children, even before, right after her husband was assassinated, leading the march in his honor before anyone had been apprehended. And she not only held her family together, she held our nation together, and she did so as a single mother.
That's right. Well, today we are closely following, of course, the Iowa caucuses. Martin, talk to us about the significance of this election in terms of the black vote and your father's impact on voting rights in America.
Well, first of all, I think that by now we as a nation should have passed the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. And unfortunately, we have made it harder to vote than easier for communities of color, for students, for seniors. That mentality is going to be challenged one way or the other. Either we're going to move forward and expand voting rights, or we're going to move backward and retract some voting rights, as has been done in a number of states across our nation since 2020. That is really critical. My dad used to say a voteless people is a powerless people, and one of the most important steps that we must take is that short step to the ballot box. For this election, it is my hope that people understand there's a serious consequences. It's a very consequential election. Either we're going to embrace hostility and division, or we're going to embrace inclusion and moving our nation forward, as I feel that most people would like to do.
The federal holiday celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. is the only one dedicated to a day of service. What does that mean to both of you? Well,
we are so tied into service. One of the things that we are kicking off today, later this afternoon with the NFL, is a 5-year initiative starting today on Martin Luther King Jr.'s 95th birthday and ending on his 100th birthday. What we're committing to do is over 100 million hours of service, mainly by youth, but by us all coming together. And what we really believe is that once we come together, we touch at about 8 million young people serving their community, we really will be closer to realizing the dream of Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King. So we're extraordinarily excited about this initiative, and we want to encourage people not only to serve today, but to understand that today is not a day off, it is a day on. And for every single problem that we see that is facing our nation and world, we all can do something about that. And we all, as we're serving, will find truly creating that table of brotherhood and sisterhood and unifying each other. So if you're interested in that, we also encourage everyone to go to realizethedream.org and find out how you can be a part of this massive movement.
Martin Luther King III and Arndrea Waters King, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.